The stage was glowing. Inside the most watched international news studio on Earth, two chairs faced each other, one for former President Barack Obama, the other for Donald Trump. Flags of the world lined the background. Every major network was streaming it live. Over 70 million people tuned in. The host barely asked the first question when the atmosphere turned cold. Obama, usually calm and measured, leaned in and said clearly, "Donald Trump is not just reckless, he's a national disgrace." Gasps. The crowd froze. Reporters blinked in disbelief. Cameras clicked non-stop. Trump didn't flinch. He didn't blink. He just stared at Obama with something between silence and fire. The host looked panicked, trying to move on, but it was too late. The insult echoed across every screen in the world. People watching at home were stunned. Social media exploded. Hashtags trended in seconds. But what no one knew, not Obama, not the host, not even the camera crew, was that Trump had come prepared. Very prepared. As the host tried to change the topic, Trump slowly reached under the table, and what he pulled out would flip the entire world upside down. Trump held the envelope like it weighed the world. It was thick, sealed, stamped confidential. The cameras zoomed in. The studio went dead silent. Even Obama looked uneasy for the first time. "What's that?" the host asked, voice shaking slightly. Trump looked up, smirked faintly, and said, "This is the piece of paper Barack prays no one ever sees." Gasps echoed through the crowd. The director in the control room whispered, "Keep rolling. Don't cut to commercial." Obama tried to laugh it off. "Another lie, another stunt," he said, brushing imaginary dust off his suit. But his voice wasn't as firm anymore. Trump opened the envelope slowly. The crinkle of the paper could be heard through every mic. He took out a document. Then he looked straight into the camera. "This isn't my opinion. It's a record. A real one. From when he was a senator. It never made the news, but I'm making sure it does now." Obama's eyes darkened. Trump began reading the first line, and what he said next made everyone in the room stop breathing. October 17th, 2006. Barack Obama signed off on a quiet intelligence memo, greenlighting a covert operation in West Africa, an operation that led to 36 children never being seen again. The studio gasped. Obama stood up. "That's a lie. That's classified. How did you—" He stopped himself. Trump didn't blink. He continued reading. The memo instructed CIA handlers to neutralize all local risks, including youth couriers. Those youth couriers were never accounted for. One camera cut to the audience. Journalists sat frozen, some with mouths wide open. The host whispered, "Do we go off air?" The producer shook his head. "No. The world needs to see this." Obama's face changed. It wasn't anger anymore. It was something else, something like shame. But he quickly composed himself. That memo was taken out of context. You don't know what really happened that day. Trump folded the paper and placed it back in the envelope. "Then tell us, Barack," he said coldly. "Tell the world what happened to those children." Obama opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Trump paused. He looked at the paper again. Then he said one word. A name. Amina. Obama's shoulders stiffened. Trump continued. "Amina Diallo, 12 years old, disappeared near the outskirts of Gao, Mali, on the same day your memo authorized operations in that region." The studio was frozen. Obama opened his mouth. "Stop. Don't do this." But Trump didn't stop. "She was delivering medicine. Locals said she never made it home." Obama sat back down slowly. His hands trembled. For the first time, it looked like he couldn't breathe. The host whispered, "Who is Amina?" Obama blinked hard, then whispered, She was just a girl." A moment of silence, a painful one. "You knew her?" the host asked softly. Obama nodded once. and when he finally spoke, his voice cracked. "I promised her family it would stay buried." Reporters froze. Trump stared at him. "But they never buried her, Barack. They never even found her." And just like that, the world saw something no one had ever seen before. Tears in Obama's eyes. Before Obama could respond, Trump reached into his jacket pocket, a small black recorder. He placed it on the table and pressed play. Static. Then a voice. "We've secured Sector 9. We neutralized the couriers. 2 adults, 1 girl." Another voice. "Was she carrying?" First voice. "Just sugar tablets. She begged us not to shoot. But command said—" Silence. Then, gunshots. 3. The studio exploded with noise. People cried out. Reporters dropped their pens. Some covered their mouths. Obama lowered his head. He looked broken. "I told them to avoid civilians," he whispered. Trump looked straight at him. "You told them to clean the zone. That's what your words said." The host tried to interrupt, but Obama raised his hand. He looked at the camera. "I didn't know she was there. I didn't know." And then he said something no one expected. "I visited her mother, years later. I lied to her face. I told her Amina died in crossfire." A moment passed. Then Trump leaned in. "You told the world I was a disgrace. But you buried a child, Barack." Obama closed his eyes and whispered, "I never buried her. I buried myself." The host tried to steer the debate back on track, but the room was gone. Emotion ruled now. Then one of the crew members walked in, holding a printed email. The producer whispered, "We just got this. It's from Mali. It's real." The host read it aloud. "My name is Mariam Diallo. I'm Amina's mother. I watched this debate with my neighbors. I recognized the story the moment I heard it. To President Obama, I forgive you. You were lied to, just like we were. But if you still carry her memory, please tell her story. Let her name be spoken." Obama's hands shook. He wiped his eyes. He turned toward the camera and finally said her full name. Amina Fatou Diallo. Bright eyes, brave heart. She used to dream of becoming a nurse. I met her once. I remember her smile. Some audience members started crying. Obama looked directly at the lens. "The world forgot her, but I won't." The crowd sat in stillness. Then, for the first time in years, Donald Trump softened. "You know, Barack, I never wanted to hurt you. I just wanted the truth." Obama nodded, but in his eyes was something deeper. Guilt and grief. The studio lights dimmed slightly. A producer whispered something in the host's ear. The host nodded, then looked at Obama. "We've received footage," she said gently, "from a French aid worker stationed in Mali in 2006. It's been verified." Obama didn't move. The screen behind them lit up, grainy video, children laughing in a dusty village. Then the camera turned and there she was, Amina, wearing a pink scarf, holding a tiny blue pouch. She smiled at the camera and said, "I'm going to be a nurse like the Americans on TV." The laughter in the video turned to screams. Gunshots followed. The camera dropped. Blackness. Back in the studio, no one spoke. Obama turned away from the screen. He gripped the sides of his chair. "I told them it was a low-risk zone. I was wrong." A tear slid down his face. Even Trump didn't speak. The world was no longer watching a debate. They were watching a man unravel before them. A man haunted by a single decision. And outside the studio, thousands of people began searching. Who was Amina Diallo? The world had forgotten her. Until tonight. As the cameras rolled, a tall man stood quietly in the back of the studio. Security moved toward him. But the man raised both hands and whispered, "I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm her uncle." Obama turned sharply. Trump's eyes narrowed. The man's voice cracked. I buried Amina's shoes. That's all we found. Gasps. The host invited him forward. His name was Issouf Diallo, a former school teacher. He carried an envelope of his own, worn, dusty. Inside was a letter Amina had written just days before she vanished. Dear Uncle, it read, when I grow up, I want to visit America. I want to meet President Obama. He smiles like the sun. Tell Mama I will be brave during my delivery walk. I'm not afraid. I'm helping. Obama was no longer holding back tears. His face was wet. Issouf stepped close. We never blamed you. We blamed the silence. You're the first man to speak her name on live television. Then he handed the letter to Obama and whispered, finish what she started. Don't let her die twice. The studio held its breath. Obama looked at the letter in his hands. He nodded. During the commercial break, Obama made a call from his dressing room. He asked for a private line to Molly, to Mariam Diallo. Her voice cracked when she answered. Mr. Obama, I didn't think you'd remember us. I never forgot, he replied, but I didn't know how to face you. You just did, in front of the world. They both went quiet. Then Mariam said something that broke even the hardened crew listening through the earpiece. All I ever wanted was to know she mattered. Obama wiped his eyes again. She did. She does. I'll carry her name into every room I walk into now. She replied gently, then let her be your light. When the show resumed, the host turned to Obama. Would you like to respond to Mr. Trump? Obama shook his head. No, I want to respond to Amina. He looked into the camera, straight into millions of homes. I failed you once. I won't do it again. Trump sat quietly. Even he looked moved. And the audience, both in the studio and across the world, wept for a child they had just met and would never forget. After the break, the studio lights dimmed again. Behind Obama, a large screen came on. It displayed Amina's face, followed by dozens more. All children, all names tied to a secret file code. Project Echo Dust. The host explained quietly. These are the young couriers and villagers caught in America's forgotten counter-terror operations between 2006 and 2009. Some were labeled threats. Most were never identified. The screen paused on one boy's photo. He was 6, the host whispered, shot while holding a soccer ball. Trump looked genuinely shaken. Obama stood. He turned to the screen and said, we sanitized these stories. We called them accidents, collateral damage, but they had names, families, dreams. A child's voice played through the speakers, Amina's voice from an old clip. One day I will be a doctor and help children, even the ones who cry in the night. A soft cry came from someone in the audience. And for the first time in his long political life, Obama didn't sound like a politician. He sounded like a father. We all failed them, he said. But I will make sure the world never forgets again. Backstage, a young assistant handed Obama a yellowed envelope. This was found in a UN archive in Timbuktu. It's addressed to you. Obama gently opened it. It was a letter from Amina. It was written by hand, the words shaky but filled with warmth. Dear Mr. Obama, my teacher said you are kind and smart. I saw your picture on TV. If I meet you one day, I will ask, can you help make my village safe? Some men come with guns at night. I'm not scared. I hide my medicine in my shoes. Love, Amina. Obama's lips quivered. He whispered, she wrote this to me before the operation. Trump watched in silence. The entire studio was holding its breath. I never saw this, Obama said. It was buried like everything else. The assistant added softly, there are more letters. Dozens, from other children, all ignored. Obama looked into the camera. We were supposed to protect them, but their words never made it to Washington. He folded the letter slowly, carefully, like something sacred. But they made it here. To all of you watching. The host turned to Trump. Do you want to respond? Trump didn't smirk this time. He looked older, quieter. You know, he began, I didn't come here to talk about children. I came here to win. Then he looked over at the wall of photos. But seeing those faces, hearing that girl's voice, he paused. It reminded me of something I never told anyone. The studio leaned in. Back in 2007, I got a letter too, from a soldier who'd just returned from Mali. He said he saw something that haunted him. A little girl, shot in a field, said it was the worst thing he ever saw. Trump's voice softened. I didn't respond. I tossed it aside. I didn't want the guilt. Then he turned toward Obama. Maybe we were both guilty of burying things. Obama nodded slowly. The audience watched something rare. Two powerful men breaking under the weight of truth. Trump sighed. I thought exposing you would destroy you. No, Obama replied. You made me human again. The screen behind them changed again. A new video clip appeared, sent just minutes ago from Mali. It showed a makeshift classroom in a dusty open field. A group of barefoot children sat cross-legged, writing in the sand with sticks. A small sign made of cardboard read, Amina Diallo Children's Center, Estier 2017. A local teacher appeared on camera. He spoke in French with subtitles below. We don't have books or chairs, but we teach their names, Amina, Fatou, Moussa, names of the forgotten. The camera panned to a tree nearby. On its bark were names carved with knives. Obama's hand rose to his mouth. He whispered, They made a memorial out of a tree. Trump bowed his head. The teacher continued, When we heard what happened on your TV debate, the children began praying, not for revenge, for remembrance. One little girl in the video looked straight at the lens and said in broken English, Thank you, President Obama. We saw her. We saw Amina. The screen went dark again, and for a moment, the whole world just breathed. Obama asked the crew for a minute. He stepped backstage to a small table where his old staffers had laid out files. Among them was a black folder, dusty, unmarked. It had sat in his personal archive for 16 years. You were supposed to read this back in 2007, a former aide whispered, but you never did. Obama sat. He opened it. Inside, photos, reports, warnings from UN officers, testimonies from local families in Mali, before the operation was ever approved. One report had bold red ink. Immediate humanitarian concerns. Area holds no active threats, only villages with minor aid routes. Do not authorize lethal operations. It was signed 2 weeks before his memo went out. Obama dropped the paper. He whispered, I was told it was a terrorist corridor. The aide lowered his head. You were. But someone higher up changed the summary. To push clearance. Obama clenched his fists. Who? Director Rollins, National Security. Obama closed the file. Then he stood. His voice was steady but shaken. So I didn't just forget Amina. I was fed a lie that killed her. The truth finally had a name. Obama returned to the stage, holding the black folder. He faced the camera. There's something the American people and the world need to know. He held up one paper, the UN report warning him. I didn't ignore this. I never saw it. It was blocked by a man named Brooke Rollins. Gasps. Rollins, former national security advisor, still active in Washington politics. Untouchable for years. Obama continued. He changed intel summaries. He approved missions under my name. I trusted the people around me, and I failed to question what I was being fed. Then, He turned to Trump. You wanted to destroy me tonight, but maybe this wasn't about us. Trump nodded slowly. Maybe it never was. Obama placed the file on the table and looked into the camera. I'll testify. I'll open every sealed page, not just for Amina, but for every child, every village, every soul we ignored. The studio was silent. Then the host whispered, Mr. Obama, are you saying you're launching a full investigation? Obama looked up. No, I'm saying I'm launching a reckoning. 1 week later, a special session was called in Washington. All eyes were on Barack Obama, who now stood at the center of the U.S. Senate, holding the black folder that once buried the truth. I am not here as a former president, he said. I am here as a man who failed a promise to a little girl named Amina. Reporters packed the gallery. Even Trump sat in attendance, solemn and silent. Obama opened the folder and placed each classified page on the podium. This is the memo I signed without knowing what it would cost. This is the report I never saw. And this is the letter she wrote to me, a letter I never received. The room was silent. Then Obama raised his voice, trembling. We must never let policy crush humanity. Never again. He looked into the camera. To Amina's family, I was too late for her, but I am not too late for the truth. And in that moment, Democrats and Republicans rose together and applauded. For once, the truth had no party. Far from Washington, in a quiet part of Mali, the camera followed a car bouncing down a dirt road. It stopped at a familiar place, the tree, where Amina's name was carved. Obama stepped out of the car. He was no longer a world leader, no Secret Service, no suits, just a man with a letter in his hand and a broken heart in his chest. Waiting for him was Mariam Diallo, Amina's mother. They didn't speak at first, just stood in silence beneath the tree where Amina's name lived on. Then Mariam said softly, I never hated you. I just wanted someone to say her name. Obama knelt and pressed the letter, Amina's letter, against the bark. She should have grown up. She should have had a chance. Mariam placed a hand on his shoulder. You gave her something, Mr. Obama. You gave her a voice. Children gathered around. They began singing a song Amina once loved. Obama sat on the ground, head bowed, and he wept. For her. For them. For all the names that were never spoken. Back in the studio, a short documentary aired. It was titled, Her Name Was Amina. It showed clips from the debate, footage from Mali, and letters from forgotten children across conflict zones. Obama narrated softly. She never got to be a nurse, never got to grow old. But she changed the world in death, more than I ever did in office. Trump's voice also appeared. Sometimes truth doesn't destroy a man. It frees him. The screen faded to black. Then these words appeared. Amina Fatou Diallo, 1994-2006. She carried medicine in her shoes and hope in her eyes. The camera cut back to the studio. Obama and Trump stood side by side, not as enemies, but as two men forever changed. Obama faced the audience. If this story reached you, if it touched your heart, then don't let it end here. If Amina's story moved you even a little, like this video, if you've ever felt unheard or forgotten, drop a comment below. Tell us your story. And if you believe the truth still matters in this world, subscribe. Let's make sure the world never forgets her name. Ever again. Her name was Amina.